Hi everyone, Max here. We're back with another TFT video. Today we're going to be talking about the best comps to climb on the current patch 14.24b. So we're going to be talking about 5 compositions today. Some of them are going to be around 4 costs and some of them are going to be around reroll. So we're going to talk about Rebels, Sentinel Heimerdinger as our 4 costs, and then dive deeper into Automata, Family, and Sentinel Reroll as our reroll compositions. Make sure to ask any questions that you might have in the comments, and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, so let's get started with the Vertical Rebels, one of my favorite comps here. This is going to be a level 8 comp where we're playing around 4 cost units, and we're going to have some mixed damage of AP and AD, so that's magic damage and some physical damage, especially once we hit that Jinx. I really like this composition since it has a lot of backline access, and sometimes you're able to kill off the enemy backline carry just halfway through the fight. You want to play this comp when you have a Rebel opener and through tempo. The reason being is there's a lot of low cost units, so 1 and 2 cost units in Rebel. So if you're trying to fully pivot into this on either stage 4-1 or 4-2, sometimes you won't hit that Aurelia, sometimes you won't hit that Vex, and it might be a little bit difficult to fit in that 7 Rebel. Rebel +1 is super bis as you're able to drop some of these low cost units for better units, and I will show you exactly what to drop them for on the next slide here. Alright, so this is what your board is going to look like. Not exactly like this. I show a couple different scenarios that you can do. Essentially, this is going to be your main Rebel units that you want to be playing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is going to be your 7 Rebel, and you really want to play 7 Rebel for that board-wide stun. Now, since we're playing 7 units, we need to have an 8th unit. So on level 8, it's very common to include either Nami or Elise. This is very good. Nami allows you to get Sorcerer and also kind of like a mana flow on your backline, and then also Elise will provide your Bruiser, which scales very well with the Rebel bonus HP, and then you are also going to get a little bit more frontline and a CC. Now, in the high roll scenario where we have a Jinx will go over the Vex for sure, and then you can play Echo as your level 8 unit instead for 2 Ambusher between the Echo and the Jinx. The way you're going to play this board is you're going to level to 8 on either 4-1 or 4-2, just depending on how rich you are and if you're contested, and stabilize with at least 7 Rebel, and then also having a Zoe 1 and an Alawi 1, so you can transfer your items onto them. Zoe best in slot is going to be Rageblade +2. This is going to be Guardbreaker plus Jewel Gauntlet or a Rabadon's +1. This one +1 could either be an Archangel's, another Guardbreaker, or a Jewel Gauntlet, just depending on your item economy. Now, Alawi just really wants like generic tank items. Sunfire is extremely good on her, and then +2, so any combination of Declaw, Bramble, Redemption, Gargoyle, Warmox, or Vow is fine as well. One thing to note, in 7 Rebel, Gargoyles is fine since you only are playing 2 Sentinel, but in the 6 Sentinel version, you really do not want to be building Gargoyle as you already have so much resistances from the trait itself. As I mentioned, Jinx over Vex, and then on level 8 will either be Nami or Elise, and it will be Echo if you do have that Jinx. One thing to note regarding Shojin, so Shojin is not that great of an item on Zoe. You still want to be building it early to mid, because as soon as you hit that Jinx, the Shojin is going to be really good on her and will allow her to get to her 3rd cast. So late game, you don't want to be having Shojin on the Zoe, but it is still a good item to build early to mid game for that late game cap. This is how you're going to capo your board, so you get that Jinx in over that Vex, you get that Echo in on level 9, and also Elise as well. These two will be better than Nami. Regarding Alawi positioning is you actually don't want her to get killed right away, so essentially putting her in the middle of the board will allow her to try to get at least 2 casts off, get that HP drain, and really become a super tank for your backline damage. Best of slot augments to go along with this composition, Rebel +1. So Rebel +1 extremely good. You're going to be dropping the Akali ASAP. In this case, you could either just play a 5 cost unit on level 9. So this could be like Jace, it could be any legendary, even like LeBlanc, or you could just play a Nami for the time being, and just depending on what you have. In this case, you will also be Rebeling the Echo, which is better than Elise, as Echo will make more use of the spat due to his ability to actually deal damage and use the AP. Painted Down Blue is also going to be extremely good. Climb the Ladder, since we are a vertical composition, so a lot of Rebels here, as the Rebels die, they will buff up the other Rebels. Pumping Up and Little Buddies are also going to be bis. A couple other really good ones: Inspiring Epitaph, Mace's Will, as we require a lot of gloves. Also, that attack speed is nice, and Mana Flow will help us out along with any 2/1 Econ Augment to allow us to hit our board. Best in slot anomalies. So there are going to be two main units we want to anomalize in this composition. Is either going to be our Zoe or our Alawi. So for Zoe, we're going to look for a damage anomaly. This is going to be Nothing Wasted, Comeback Story, or Touch of Frost. These are all very good. Mana on kill is okay. However, since Zoe has such a large mana pool, it does not guarantee an immediate cast compared to a unit with low mana, such as Heimerdinger. The Alawi will just be looking for tank anomalies, so Giant Size, Deep Roots, Fortified, Stone Skin, and Bulwark are all going to be great on her. So definitely give this board out a try. One last thing to note is you ideally want to have your Jinx on the back corners here lined up with one of your frontline units. This is because you can essentially snipe the backline unit with your initial stun, and this was really good with the Rebel stun, so it'll stun from Jinx, then the Rebel stun will come through and their backline will have a really hard time generating mana and casting their ability. Alright, so moving on to another 4-cost composition here, Sentinel Heimerdinger. This is also going to be a level 8 board, and we are going to be a magic damage stall board. So the longer the fight goes, the stronger we are due to the Heimerdinger ability. The more times that you cast, you will start to fire more missiles, and this is essentially just more damage. You want to be playing this composition from a tier opener, as we will be requiring at least 3 tiers. Blue buff and the Archangels is super best in slots on the Heimerdinger, and one thing to note is you really want to be having blue buff over the Shojin. It will allow you for more casts, which means more damage. Since there are not as many core 1 and 2 cost units in this comp, you don't necessarily have to play from a tempo spot. Also, you can sack for Carousel to get that tier as well. So this is a little bit different than the Rebel composition. One thing you do need to do though is at the start of the game, I like to Team Planner Deluxe, check the Academy sponsored items, and look out for these. So look out for any Archangel, Guardbreaker, Shiv, Gunblade, Jewel Gauntlet. This will essentially incentivize you to play this composition, especially if you have the spot, and it means that you don't have to build one of these backline items onto your Heimerdinger. Of course, Shiv will not be going on the Heimerdinger, it'll be going on another backline unit such as the Ezreal. Okay, so this is what your level 8 board is going to look like. You're going to go on either 4-1 or 4-2 and then stabilize with Heimerdinger plus Alawi. On the actual level 8 board, you can either play 6 Sentinel or you'll play 4 Sentinel if you high roll better units such as Jace, or if you have a Corki 2 and you have 80 items for him. In that case, you will be dropping the Singed and the Loris. Heimer best in slots, you have a couple different options here. You could go for the super stall option, or you could kind of go for more of the front loaded option. So the super stall option is going to be blue buff, Archangel plus Gunblade. Gunblade to heal your frontline, Archangel to really ramp up your AP, and then blue buff to cast consistently. The more front-loaded damage is going to be Guardbreaker plus Jewel Gauntlet. Guardbreaker is really good on Heimerdinger, giving him that damage amp, and he hits so many units, so he's able to really proc that Guardbreaker, and then Jewel Gauntlet to allow his abilities to crit, and it synergizes from the crit from the Guardbreaker. Alawi Abyss is going to be any tank item except for Gargoyle. As I mentioned, since you're now playing 6 Sentinel, she has a lot of armor and magic resist, so the armor and magic resist from the Gargoyle Stoneplate is quite redundant. As you can see here, this is actually a relatively cheap level 8 board. You only have 2 4 costs, so you want to try to go level 9 ASAP and really max cap with a Jace 2 and a Rumble 2. This is what your final board is going to look like. So once you get that Rumble, remember Rumble is a pure damage unit, so you don't really want to be putting tank items on him, you just want to be putting damage items. And then also Jace, depending on your items, can either be frontline or backline if you have these AD items. Best in slot augments to go along with this composition is going to be Academy +1 and Little Buddies. A couple other really good ones is Component Buffet to guarantee those tiers, Sentinel Crest / Crown, and eventually you'll be dropping the Loris either for like a Lux or just a better unit, especially 5 cost units. Replication, same thing for the tiers. Inspiring Epitaph, always a solid combat. Mace's Will, and then any 2/1 augments as well. With Mace's Will, you definitely will be going for the Guardbreaker and the Jewel Gauntlet option rather than the Archangel plus the Gunblade. Okay, best in slot anomalies, we have two options here, either the Heimerdinger or the Alawi. So as I mentioned in the Zoe comparison, kill streak is going to be a lot better on the Heimerdinger, nothing wasted, comeback story, magic trainings since you're going to be casting a lot, and also touch of frost. For Alawi, just any tank one, giant size, deep roots, fortified, stone skin, and bulwark are all going to be bis on this Alawi. The tankier your frontline is, the longer they will survive, the more cast Heimerdinger can get off, and the more damage he will do. Okay, so moving on to some reroll now, we have our Automata Reroll. So we have either Nocturne or Kog'Maw, and both of these comps are going to be artifact checks. So for Nocturne, if you have any range artifact, then feel free to pivot into this line. So that is Sniper's Focus, Rapid Fire Cannon, or Fish Bones. In this case, you'll be pairing Nocturne with an Infinity Edge plus one more item. And for Kog'Maw, with the three artifacts will be Wit's End, Gambler's Blade, or a Lich Bane. And both of these separate compositions, Automata plus one is going to be bis, so definitely look out for that on your 3-2 or 4-2 or even carousel options. So let's talk about Nocturne first. So as I mentioned, his three best in slot artifacts are going to be his range extending ones. Essentially, this will allow you to do two things. Number one, Nocturne will now be able to attack safely and you don't have to build Quicksilver. And also two, this will allow you to build more pure damage items rather than like a Bloodthirster or a Titans. The way you're going to play this is you're going to level to 6 on 3-2 and you're going to stabilize with Nocturne 2 plus 4 Automata. Now his bis is going to be the range artifact plus Infinity Edge, and this last one just depends on what you have. Quicksilver, Giant Slayer, Last Whisper, Hodge, these are all good. Of course, if you have an Even Shroud, you don't need the Last Whisper, or if you have some support items such as Banshees, you will not be requiring the QS. You really want to be fitting in 4 Quick Striker and 4 Automata ASAP. In this case, Nocturne is your main carry, so you don't have to go for the Akali 3, especially if you don't have any items for her. Here is how you're going to finalize your board. Eventually add an Immortalizer as a duo carry as well. Make sure that your Nocturne is behind your Blitzcrank and you have that 4 Automata and 4 Quick Striker in here. Best in slot augments to go along with this composition is going to be any augment that gives you an artifact, so Portable Forge, Living Forge, Artifactory, or Latent Forge to fish for those artifacts such as the Fish Bones. Prismatic Ticket to allow you to hit, Fractured Crystals for Vertical Automata, Immovable Object, Investment Strategy, Adrenaline Burst, Health is Wealth, Inspiring Epitaph, and Mace as well are all going to be great combat and some kind of like resource augments to allow you to really have a good board and allow you to top 4. The damage anomaly, you will be going for Nocturne in this case, of course, so this will either be Bully since you're rerolling, Call the Weak, Comeback Story, or Invisibility as well. But generically, any pure like AD damage anomaly will be good on the Nocturne. He is going to be your main carry, so make sure that you're buffing him up with everything that you can. Now our other Automata Reroll is going to be the Kog'Maw Reroll. So you're going to be leveling to 7 on either 3-5 or 4-1, just depending on how rich or stable you are. If you are rich and unstable, you'll be going to level 7 on 3-5, or if you're not as rich and you are stable, you could wait until after Wolves to go to level 7 and start formulating your board. You're going to stabilize with Cog 2 and Scar 2. If you do have Automata plus 1, you'll be going for the 6 Automata version rather than the Vertical Watcher, and you will be playing the Blitz. If not, you'll just be going the regular 6 Watcher build. Now, there are 3 artifacts that Kog'Maw uses. Let's talk about the first one, Gambler's Blade. You can get this from a couple different options, either just like Portable Forge, from Artifact Anvil, or from All That Shimmers augments. If you do have Gamblers, you can definitely play this Kog'Maw composition and pair it with Rage Blade plus a Gunblade or an Archangel. The second one is going to be Lich Bane. Remember that the Lich Bane damage is flat, does not scale, which means that you really just want to be casting as much as possible. You don't really care about the damage from Archangel. You just want to be building 2 mana items, Blue Buff and Shojin, to allow you to cast as much as possible and really proc that Lich Bane. And the very last one is going to be Wit's End. Since this has a healing aspect into it, you will be dropping the Gunblade and just be going the Rage Blade plus the Archangel. So this is super important that you don't mix them up. For example, if you go Lich Bane, Archangel, Gunblade, you really will not be having a good time. So you make sure that these 3 builds are very distinct. Your main tank is going to be Scar, so you will be putting your resistance items on Scar and your HP items onto Garen, which will in turn give the Scar more HP as well. This is how you're going to cap out your board without an Automata emblem. You're just going to be playing 6 Watcher and then Echo and Firelight for traits as well, or Echo and Zeri. Best in slot augments to go along with this composition. Once again, any of these forge augments to fish for your artifacts, Automata +1, Prismatic Ticket, Immovable Object, Inspiring Epitaph are all going to be good as well. There are going to be 2 units that you can anomalize here. Priority on the Scar. Because we are a stall composition, you really just want the front line. So like Bulwark, Deep Roots, Fortified, Giant Size, Protective Shielding, and Stone Skin are all going to be great on the Scar. If you have an insane frontline for some reason, maybe you have like a movable object, like Guarantee Scar too early, but you're lacking damage, and you see this early, you can go for the 1000 cuts onto the Kog'Maw, or maybe even Magic Training. Okay, moving on to some reroll comps here, we have the Family Violet reroll. So this is going to be a level 4 and 5 composition, since we are going to be rerolling this 1 cost. Now, this is also going to be an artifact check composition. Essentially, as you can see here, she uses an insane amount of artifacts, with the best ones being Fishbones and Spectral, or Suspicious Trenchcoat. Spectral Cutlass is quite good as well. Okay, so I'll talk about how to play the composition and then I'll go into the artifacts. So since this is going to be a level 4 1 cost comp, you really don't want to be leveling or rolling until stage 3-1. This is going to be right after Krugs. You'll still be level 4 and you want to roll to about 30 gold. If you don't have any artifacts, however, you still have a good spot for this composition. The main core items you'll be building is Bloodthirster plus Titans, and you'll be finishing off the build with either a Styx or a QS depending on your items. Vander will be holding your supportive items, so like Even Shroud, Redemption, and Sunfire, and Draven, if you are able to 3-star him, will be holding your Rageblade Runons. If not, then like Last Whisper, Deeply, IE are fine, and you'll eventually swap it over to Gangplank. Now let's talk about the augments, or the artifacts here. I rank them into 4 separate rows, with row 1 being the best and row 4 being the worst. That doesn't mean row 4 is bad, it's just not as good compared to row 1. So any range artifacts such as like Fishbones, RFC, Snipers, since Violets has the extra range and is safe, you don't want to be building Bloodthirster, you don't want to be building Titans or the Styx, you just want to be building pure damage, which is going to be Infinity Edge plus Hodge. A couple niche ones, Spectral Cutlass, or I keep calling it Spectral Cutlass, Suspicious Trenchcoat. You will be going the Eon plus the Styric, since she's going to be splitting. Spectral Cutlass is going to be BT Titans, same with Mittens, Death's Defiance, and Infinity Force. I already talked about Sniper's Focus. The Silver Mirror Dawn, you will be doing so much damage, you don't really need the Titans or the like Styx to stay alive. You also get resistances from the Spectral or from the, what's this one called? The Silver Mirror Dawn. So you just want to be going pure healing. This is going to also be a range augment. And then the Prowler's Claw, because it gives you crit, you want to be pairing with the Infinity Edge plus the Hodge and praying that your Violet randomly makes its way to the backline and one-shots the enemy backline carry. This is eventually how you're going to cap out your board. You're going to finish off with 6 Pit Fighter, and then the Darius, if it's not 3-star, can be dropped for any legendary or even any 6-cost units, especially a Victor. Best of all augments to go along with this composition is going to be any forge or any artifact item. Once again, Family +1 is going to be extremely good, Pit Fighter +1 as well. Prison Ticket, Immovable Object, Inspiring Epitaph, and Investment Strategy are also very good for this reroll composition. Violet will benefit from any damage anomalies, so Ultimate Hero is going to be her best. You can also go for Bully, Force of Friendship, Avarice Incarnate, and Comeback Story. Alright, and moving on to a final composition for today, the Sentinel Renata Reroll. This is going to be a 1 and 2 cost composition, however, you will be rolling between levels 4 and 6. This is going to be a magic damage stall composition because you will be building an Archangels onto the Renata, and you'll be requiring at least 2 tiers and also uncontested. So this is what your level 5 board is going to look like. You're just going to be playing 4 Sentinel and 2 Visionary with your main items going on your Renata. This is going to be the Shojin Archangel +1. Ideally, it will be Nashor's. However, if you have artifacts, it could also be the Manazane or the Gamblers. You're going to be playing this very similar to the Ari Bastion's board of the previous sets because we want to be going for those 3-star 1-cost units. So the way you're going to play this is you're not going to level or roll until stage 3-1. You're going to roll a little bit on level 4 to stabilize, and you're also going to try to get some of those 1-cost units priority onto the Singed, as he will be holding our main items. You're then going to proceed to slow roll on level 5 until you're close to Singe 3, Irelia 3, or Vex 3, of course Singe being the best. Then you could level to 6 on a good interval, perhaps maybe like 3-5, and then start to slow roll for that Renata 3. Singe items is going to be Redemption, Bramble, Vow, Crown Guard, Sunfire, Decal. These are all very good on him, and he'll just be essentially your main tank, giving that attack speed over to Renata, which will in turn shield your frontline, and it just goes back and forth, stalls, and allows your Archangel to ramp up. This is how you're going to cap out your board with the Singe 3, Irelia 3, Renata 3, and also your secondary tank will be your Alawi or your Irelia. And also you will be playing a Malzahar as well, and Vex will be here for Rebel. Now, best of all augments to go along with this composition, and Exalted Adventure, especially if it is Rel and Renata, Prismatic Ticket to allow you to help or allow you to hit, Investment Strategy as well. You have so much armor and magic resist, the bonus HP will allow you to increase your effective tankiness. Pumping Up and Clockwork Accelerator will allow your backline to cast more often. Over Encumbered and Band of Thieves will allow you to itemize more units, as you are going for at least 3 3-stars, even the Vex as well. Now you have 2 units that you can anomalize here, Renata for damage, so either Fireball or Comeback Story will be extremely good on her. However, most of the time you'll be going for a Singed tank anomaly, so Bulwark, Deep Roots, Fortified, Giant Size, Protective Shielding, and Stone Skin are going to be your generic frontline tank anomalies. Okay, and that's everything for today. So today we talked about the best compositions that you should be playing on the current patch to allow you to climb. There are 4 cost compositions, there are reroll compositions. It just really depends on your spots, your augments, and if you have an artifact or not. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and support the new channel, as I'll be giving out a lot of good information to hopefully help you climb and enjoy the game more. So have a great night, best of luck in your games, and I will see you all next time.